Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new r/malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called I Know What You're Waiting On. I was a server at a pretty popular restaurant in my city. I had only been there for about 8 months at this point, but I was able to build good relationships with both the front and back of house staff. There was one day in particular where we were very busy. I remember there was one order where a customer had ordered a certain burger and customized it. Nothing too crazy, but enough that it looked different from the normal version. Now usually the kitchen staff and I were able to communicate very easily and say what we needed and what needed to be done. But everyone's temper seemed to be high that night, so everyone was on a short fuse. I remember that I asked about that customer's burger, which was not in the window. The chef says, "It's the burger in front of you." I told them that it's not and that I'm still waiting for it. They replied, "I have the ticket, I cooked it." "I know what you're waiting for. It's the burger in front of you." So I smirked to myself, said okay and proceeded to bring the customer the wrong burger. I placed it in front of them and almost immediately the customer said that wasn't their burger. I went back to the kitchen and had to request them to make me the burger again. The chef was extremely upset about this and I just kind of smiled to myself and said we give our customers the correct food every time, even if we are upset about it. There was another instance where the customer ordered a medium rare burger and it was still bleeding a little bit when they took it off the grill. The button bun ended up falling apart because it was soaked from the juices. I asked the cook at the time if we could get a new bun because it was falling apart. They said they ordered rare, that's what they wanted. But that one I wasn't going to let slide, so I asked again to replace the bun, getting a little frustrated at them this time. We may not be a 5-star restaurant, but we can still give our customers a good product and good service. The next story is called Boss Thinks It's Too Hard to Check. My company uses locked-down Microsoft Windows thin clients. And as of a few years ago, we were on Windows XP, which struggled with file extensions and associations. We are an engineering shop and use Scrum and tools like Jira to track project requirements and progress towards completion. One time, our first level boss asked us all to submit weekly reports to her. I protested that we all spent plenty of time updating Jira so that the managers could see all that they needed to see by logging in there. And that submitting weekly reports was duplicating that work. She said that looking at Jira seemed hard, so we should submit weeklies instead. Okay boss. Each week I submitted my weeklies nicely typed up. But rather than doing so in Word like most would, I submitted my weeklies as text files using Linux tools. Further, the weeklies were named weekly.date, where date looks something like 2020-04-05. To open these files in Windows, she'd have to double-click the file in Outlook. Windows would then complain it didn't know how to open a 2020-04-05 file. And then give her possible applications and a checkbox that said always open 2020-04-05 files with. If she chose Notepad, of course the Linux line endings would cause the file to be one long line. And she'd have to open it in another application, which is especially challenging if she had checked that checkbox. Since the file had a different extension each week, she'd have to pound through the process over and over just to read my weeklies. Months later, I was talking to her about something and mentioned that I'd discussed the topic in one of my weeklies. She confessed that she hadn't been reading them because they were too hard to open. Eventually, of course, the manager moved on, as did the requirement to do weeklies. What do you think about today's video? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also, please hit the like button. It is really important to get the channel growing. Thanks so much for watching so far, and now let's go on to the next story. The third story is called I Will Tell You What Needs to Be Done. University has its share of professors that want to help, as well as those that want to make it as hard as possible to simply pass the course. The lecturer I had was of the latter. In January, she talked mostly of her interest without teaching us. It was a research class. When asked about the course lessons, we got a snarky, don't worry about the materials. Everything you need to know, I will say. At first, I was glad she didn't stick to the given schedule, but a couple of weeks in, I had other thoughts. Fast forward to when online classes was a definite thing. I started recording the online lessons to review the materials. Time and time again, she gave empty criticism of our proposals and questionnaires. On one beautiful day, the exchange between her and a student went like this. Teacher, what should we do about the research design diagram? As I kept saying to you all, I will tell you what needs to be done. What I don't specifically point out or say is not of importance. In other words, I'm telling you all that I'm going to use to mark your papers. The student was dejected and simply said, okay, I understand. After class, I texted my friend and repeated our teacher's words and asked if she said anything about sources. My friend said no. Thus, my plot for malicious compliance began. Now, I know from my university, research older than 10 years and textbooks were not supposed to be used. But only a few lecturers adhered to that. While gathering articles, I added articles older than 10 years and 2 textbooks. Once the research was finished, I took the lesson and got the audio of her strictly explaining that what she doesn't say is of no importance. When the due date came, I happily submitted it to her and waited for her to contact me. She sent me a message a few days later and the glorious conversation was as follows. I noticed that you had a couple of articles before 2010 and 2 textbooks as sources. Yes, ma'am? I do. You know, this is going to hurt your grade badly, right? I honestly believe my grade will be just fine. And why are you so confident in that? I then took the audio from the lesson and sent it to her. Why did you send me that? I just wanted you to know that you didn't say we couldn't use them. And like how you said, if you don't mention it, it is of no importance in terms of grading. She didn't reply after that and I got my grade back about 4 days after. I don't know what makes me happier, getting back at her or the B+ for my final grade. The next story is called Ready to Go. I work for a leisure company. Think soft play, indoor soccer, laser tag. Prior to the lockdowns, the managers and the big bosses were negotiating the renewal of the lease on one of our parks. Things were going mostly smoothly, however the landlords were difficult to contact. Then the 2020s thing started. All of our sites were closed and everything was thrown into a mess. Negotiations began to slip down the priority list. Nobody thought the landlord would push an eviction for an expired lease during this period. Especially with it still getting rent, despite the site's closure and the closure of every business and restaurant in the immediate area. We were wrong. A few days ago we received a letter saying we had 7 days to leave the premises and take everything with us. We are reminded that anything left in the building after 7 days will become the landlord's property. Now, a lot of construction goes into installing our equipment into a new building, which makes emptying one even harder. Add a lockdown with no staff and most businesses shut. It meant that saving much of our assets would prove to be extremely difficult. To lose a profitable site and all of its assets is definitely a blow to our company. But here is where it gets worse. A few days into our 7-day eviction, we find out that the landlord has been advertising our park to our competitors. But he isn't offering just the building, he is offering all of our stuff pre-installed. Ready to go, just needs rebranding. The landlord has evicted us from the property in an attempt to increase rent and make a solid profit from our equipment installed, because he thinks we won't be able to empty the park. We were furious. And here is where the malicious compliance came in. We were told we had 7 days to move everything we owned out of the property. So that's what we did. Local businesses from all around offered up free space to store our things. A few people came back out of lockdown and they all spent the rest of the week removing, selling or destroying everything that was related to us. We didn't even leave the light fittings. In every other site vacation we have seen, we always end up leaving thousands of dollars bursts of disco lights in the ceiling because they are too hard to get. We leave most of the construction in, as well as things like the bars and kitchens that all stay intact. But not in this building. We ripped up the flooring we installed, tore down the walls that were not part of the original structure, wooden walls to divide up the space. We ripped apart our manager's offices and removed all artwork and lockers. The landlord now has every new deal he has been making dead in the water and a large renovation bill to install new flooring, or a company willing to do it themselves like we were. Lockdown has been extended another 4 weeks, so he has at least another 4 weeks without rent and won't have any potential buyers. The silver lining. The assets we got out of the sites, fridges, TVs, equipment, food and tables have all been sold. And the lack of rent and additional income has helped the business and paid staff wages. The last story is called Give Him What He Wants. I used to work for a fairly well-known chain of buffalo wing eateries. You know, the ones with the 27 huge screens and screaming fans of every sport? We had a family dining area, and this particular Saturday night, in walks Karen with a slew of kids and adults all wanting to celebrate a birthday. Table for 20? No problem. Of course, Karen isn't paying for everyone. So they all line up to the cashier booth to order, and the birthday boy is first. He appears to be around 10 years old, and he peers over the counter at me and says he wants the 24 blazing wings. If you know our store, you know our sauces. Blazing was the spiciest sauce we had, so spicy that you needed gloves if you were going to have prolonged contact. I told the kid that those wings were very, very hot and maybe he'd like to try our sweet barbecue or even our hot sauce. The kid throws a fit. My manager is behind me and Karen is berating me for not giving her precious birthday boy what he wanted. My manager whispers for me to just give him what he wants. So I put in his order and apologize to Karen. Then I place everyone else's orders. By the time the last of the 20 were ordering, the first was getting their food. Who do you think comes to the counter with a tray of 24 blazing wings? Karen, of course. She is irate and screaming over the din of cheering spectators. How dare I give a poor precious child something so spicy that it burns his mouth. She wants a refund, not just for his wings, but for their whole family's meal. She is threatening lawyers and medical bills, and sure enough, she had to ask the age-old Karen adage. Let me speak to your manager. So I go tell him what's happened, and I do feel bad because I have a soft spot for kids, even the evil ones. He comes out and tells Karen that he was present when I told her and the kid they were too hot, and he heard her insist that they'd be given to him. He pointed to the cameras and mentioned the microphones and informed her she would not be getting any money back. And the kid would not be getting a replacement. If he wanted a different flavor, she could buy it, or he could eat what he ordered. She gave us a terrible review, but that kid coming back with his mummy, crying after eating what I had told them both was too hard, was something special to me, and I still remember it to this day. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe for more content. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye bye.